I've had people that are always looking for the deal or the house that's they can steal or whatever, and it never happens. And by the time they realize it, they're spending $100,000 more.
There's no deals to be had like up here. You're not gonna get a deal on a cottage right now. I'm glad we're saying this out loud.
All right. Good morning. How are you, Erin?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. To everybody listening, this is episode 94 of KT Confidential. I'm Adrian. I'm the co-owner of the Adrian Trott team and KT Property Management. My normal partner, Ariel, is out up north, actually near you, Erin. We're enjoying some relaxation at the Cottage right now.
Nice.
So this is your second time on.
I know. I was trying to remember the last time you had me. Was it March, April? I can't remember.
I remember it was our 8th episode of recording in quarantine.
Right.
So it was sometime in April, I suspect.
Right.
Yeah.
A lot's changed in the last, what is that? How many months? My goodness.
This year's kind of has been a very strange year. I cannot believe it's September.
Right.
It's unbelievable. And I've done virtually nothing all summer. We've been super busy though, but the year has just flown by.
Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing I just wanted to get you to do for me is last time you were on, Ariel gave a very generic breakdown of who you were. He was like, previously photographer, currently real estate agent, also Adrian's sister-in-law. I would like you to tell the audience your origin story. Like, where did you start? Go back as far as you want. Where were you born? How did you end up where you are today?
That's fun. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So born and raised in Brampton, Ontario. I never left home to go to school. I went to U of T in the Mississauga campus for art and art history, and kind of minored in photography. Was always interested in. I would spend my allowance on disposable cameras, and I knew that, the artist within wanted out. And I thought I was going to be an art teacher. Both my parents were teachers, so naturally. And then I shot weddings. Probably the first wedding when I was 18, just turning 19. So, I'm 39 now, full disclosure.
That's a big responsibility for somebody to entrust you to shoot their wedding at that age.
Absolutely. And I didn't even charge anything. Like, I didn't know what I was doing. And I thought this is great experience, great practice. So I just, I did it for friends and whatever, or they would just pay for my film. That's how long ago I shot. Right. I was on rolls of film.
So did you were you processing these on your own, or were you wow.
Yeah. So my U of T program was joint with Sheridan College. So I had full use of their darkroom, and I would develop my own negatives and prints. And I really miss the darkroom days, actually. Quite relaxing, just hours. The whole day would be shot just in the darkroom, and I do miss that. So so I've been shooting weddings, and it morphed into shooting for, like, moving up here. Brad and I own a commercial painting company. So we would work with builders and interior designers, and naturally I would go in to photograph them for their websites or whatever, and was shooting homes for really the last 14 years. So I started to work for a lot of realtors in Muskoka. I was like shooting listings all over the place and not really charging a lot. I mean, if you know anything about Muskoka real estate, if you're on the big three, you're into multi-million-dollar listings, and I wasn't really charging enough, rather. And it's like, I started to think to myself, this is probably 3 or 4 years ago now, that I'm like, I think I need to be shooting my own listings. I think that, also, side note, my parents have been realtors for many, many years too. My dad, probably 20 years. Outside of teaching. So I was always exposed to real estate. It was always a subject of conversation at Thanksgivings and Christmas and stuff. And I generally believe that everybody has somewhat of an interest in real estate. So we're always just kind of talking about it. And then Brad and I are always searching realtor.ca and whatnot. So I was like, you know what? I think I need to make a transition. I'm growing out of the wedding scene. I don't want to shoot weddings anymore. And all these beautiful homes coming and going. And I'm thinking I need to be listing them myself. So it was about like 3 or 4 years ago that it kind of dawned on me that I should become a realtor.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think your 1 year anniversary is coming up very soon.
Of being a realtor.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess I was licensed September. I don't remember the date. I should know that.
I remember last time you mentioned something about September.
Yeah. Yeah, September.
So that the 1 year for real estate agents is kind of a pinnacle point because the drop off rate within the first year is extremely high. So I'm curious for, now that you're just coming up on that date, maybe to give some advice or feedback on your experiences for other people that might be in a similar position or contemplating getting into real estate. How have you found it?
Difficult.
Yeah.
Extremely difficult, extremely challenging. Geez, where do I begin? I'm still enjoying it though. I think it's important to note that I love the learning process. I love gaining experience. But definitely in this market, the seller's market up here, it's been exceptionally challenging. I've learned a lot. And there has been times where I'm like, I do not want to do this anymore. I definitely have had those moments where you just get disappointment after disappointment, or, you lose the deals in multiple offer scenarios and I wasn't winning anything. And I haven't, it's just been like, why am I doing this if it's just this hard? It's so hard.
Well, not only that, but I mean, just getting that client is hard, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Taking somebody and having them trust you to help them with their purchase or sale.
Yeah.
Let alone the process.
Yeah. So I've built a lot of really great buyer relationships. I have marketed myself as a buyer rep or buyer agent. Not intentionally, just you say what you speak, I own two cottages here in Muskoka and I live in Huntsville. So I own 3 homes up here, and waterfront property just is my specialty, and what to look for in a cottage, in a 3-season cottage or a 4-season cottage, what to look for in a short-term rental income property. You do what you know. And so I've been talking from my experience to everybody on Instagram and Facebook, and thus drawing buyers to me, saying, I want to do what you guys did. I want what you guys have. Can you find me a cottage? So the next thing I know, I've got like 12, 14 buyers that all want the same thing, the same price range. And I'm sitting here, I'm a bit spinning my wheels. I've done a few deals, but for the most part, I'm just like, holy smokes, like this is a ton of work for not a lot of gain, and quite a bit of disappointment for my buyers, because there's multiple offer situations up here that we are not winning. And, if you can't come in at full asking or over with no conditions on a cottage, I mean, people, they're uncomfortable with that. They want a home inspection. They want to know if the septic system works. Like, of course, it's a huge investment. So we're putting conditions in and we're losing because our offer has conditions.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good topic of conversation just quickly, because I'm experiencing very much the same thing here in the city, but it's a bit different because I imagine many of the cottages you're looking at are older, perhaps. Mm-hmm. Some maybe in need of repair, and in questionable conditions. So it's a bit more risky, I would think, than buying a house that's on municipal services without conditions. Right. And I was having a conversation with somebody yesterday, because I'll be putting an offer on a place today and we'll be in multiple offers. And I was conveying to them that obviously, as a real estate agent, we need to advise our buyers that it's smart to do a home inspection. But at the same time, they're not going to buy a house with one.
Right.
And if you are going to, as a seller in multiple offers, let's say you have 2 offers in hand, one for $1 million with no conditions. So it's a done deal. They sign it off, get the deposit, done deal. Versus another one with, let's say, just a 3-day condition to get a home inspection. That home inspection, I would think they would have to spend at least, I think it's even low, at least $20,000 more to convince the seller to consider that, if not more. Because if that home inspection doesn't go well and the deal falls apart, the seller's back to square one. They may not have that pool of buyers bidding on the house again. It's a big risk to take. So in essence, that home inspection is costing that buyer $20,000 or more.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have a deal going on right now where we did win with one condition of financing. And it's because I saw it online, and within an hour of it being listed, I called my buyer. I said, this is checking all the boxes for you guys. You want me to drive over there right now? And I did. I previewed it. I FaceTimed it. He put an offer in sight unseen other than FaceTime with the condition of financing. Our irrevocable was, it was over 24 hours, but it was under 48. I forget. But that seller waited until the very, very, very last minute, literally 10:57 a.m. and accepted ours, only to receive multiple offers after ours with no conditions, full asking over and everything. And he's like, he trusted me. I said, you're making the right decision. This family, this with small children, like, this is their dream. This is their absolute dream. Thank you for taking a chance on us. He's solid. We're now a week and a bit later, and we're sweating our financing. I have confidence it's going to come through, but like the appraisal, what's up with appraisals? Like, they're different now in this market, right? Like, are people paying what the cottages are worth, or are they overpaying? Like,
yeah. Well, I think it goes back to 2017 when we experienced a similar market, and that became a big issue then, as appraisers weren't able to keep up with what houses were actually selling for.
Right.
Like, they don't see it. They don't see the same environment as us about how competitive it is and how, the value a bank may perceive a house to be is very different than what a buyer will when they're competing against people.
Right.
So that can be very challenging.
Yeah. Yeah. We're sweating over here.
You got to make it happen.
I made this deal happen. Let me tell you, I have hustled for these buyers for a few months now, and I have just had, disappointment after disappointment. So finally we got this one, and it's like, oh, please go through.
Well, the conversation is transitioning nicely into, one of the things I wanted to talk about is how the market is, up there and down here. I think it sounds like it's very, very similar. It's very competitive. Is inventory low there, or do you just have an abundance of buyers?
No, inventory is not low. It's just moving too fast. It's coming on, it's selling. It's coming on, it's conditional, like almost same day. And it's all price points too, like anywhere, from the off-grid cabin for $250,000 to $1 million they're moving. And so, that's I'm trying to encourage my buyers and let them know that stuff keeps coming up. Like, don't worry. Like, August is typically a slower month in real estate up here. Hasn't really slowed down. Hasn't really stopped. So it's like, okay, so stuff is coming. So let's just wait. Like, maybe something else will be out there. And I think there's 2 seasons up here. I don't know about you guys, but there's 2 hot seasons. It's spring and fall.
We generally see a spike during the same time. Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens this year, if it might be delayed a little bit because of the school year. And Halton has just been delayed by a week for the starting date.
Right.
So, and with COVID and whatnot. But I mean, the whole year has been very different for us. It's been like our spike. We had a spike in early spring, and then it died down because of COVID. Then it came again in the middle of summer. And now, maybe it'll die down for a couple of weeks with school. Who knows? And then, perhaps we'll see it again towards the end of September. But we generally see that spring and fall.
If there's one thing that I have noticed is that buyers are tired, like, from losing, right? So they're just like, you know what, we're going to take a break. Maybe we'll revisit this in the fall, and that's fine. I get it. It's stressful. It's exhausting. It's all of your time spent. And so buyers are really, the inventory hasn't changed, but buyers are really pulling back, just pumping the brakes, being like, I'm tired. So That's, that's disappointing after you've worked for 4 or 5 months with one client. But I'm trying to stay positive, and I'll keep sending them properties. But buyers, as far as the cottage market goes, are getting a little fed up.
Yeah. Oh, I'm seeing it too. I have clients right now. They've been out, we've pricing 30 houses. They've put offers on multiple, and lost out. And in many cases, just to outrageous selling prices that, I couldn't fathom possibly seeing those houses sell for. And they're getting very tired. But the challenge is now, if you are going to buy and you pull your out of the market and you're waiting, especially if it's a second property like you're talking about, the houses are appreciating and the bidding is going to continue. So when you pick up things again in the fall or early winter, the prices are going to be higher than they are now, I suspect, unless we see things change, but I don't think we will.
I think so. I definitely, I don't feel as though there's price gouging per se, because people are going to pay what the property is worth, right? You can list for whatever you want. It's going to sit there. If you are price gouging, it's pretty obvious to the educated buyer. So there isn't a lot of. I had a conversation with a client last night over the phone, and he was just so worried that he's going to overpay for something. He's like, I don't want to, and I'm like, no, you're going to pay what it's worth. That's definitely what's happening.
Yeah. Well, and at the end of the day, I'll give an example. I was in multiple offers on a house not long ago. The house ended up selling for reasonable, but a fair bit more than what we deemed to be good money. And so this new buyer, they won the bid, they get the house, they're going to move in, but they've set the new precedent, right?
Yeah.
So now the next houses that list, they're basing their valuation off of these higher prices. So, I see from a buyer's perspective, they don't want to overpay, but at the end of the day, the houses will appreciate. If they don't overpay now, they may never get a house. And a year from now, they'll look back and say, oh my God, I've already made money on it. I'm glad I did that.
Right.
So, I've worked with buyers in the past who told me that the one regret they had previously when buying houses was that they didn't stretch their budget to get the house they really wanted. Because if they had they wouldn't be moving now. Maybe a little bit different for vacation properties or whatever, but sometimes stretching your budget a little bit makes a big difference. I've had people that are always looking for the deal or the house that's they can steal or whatever, and it never happens. And by the time they realize it, they're spending $100,000 more.
There's no deals to be had like up here. You're not gonna get a deal on a cottage right now. I'm glad we're saying this out loud.
Yeah. No, and I mean, sometimes that the only way a buyer will realize that is by going through the motions, and that sometimes has to happen. But the sooner they trust your advice and work with you, the quicker they'll see the results and actually get a property.
How are you finding it is to work with other agents in this market right now?
Well, I had a situation recently that I've already told you about, but and I run into this stuff all the time. And this is one of the reasons I got into real estate, because I think there's such a void of quality service, just from competency to actual services that people provide. But I'd scheduled a showing very early in the day, like late morning, to see a property later in the day. And I got confirmation around lunchtime. And, oh no, sorry. I booked it a day in advance. So let's say I booked it today for tomorrow kind of thing. Anyways, tomorrow rolls around. We're going to go see this house. And, oh no, my timeline's all screwed up right now, Erin. Okay. I'm going to see this house tomorrow. Okay. Tonight at 7 o'clock, I get an automated email from this real estate agent's brokerage saying, by the way, there is a registered offer on this, 2 registered offers on this home. So I didn't get one the first time saying there's one registered, and then another saying now there's another. It was just one email, 7 o'clock at night. There are 2 offers registered. I'm not standing there looking at my email. So I see it an hour later, 8 o'clock. I reach out to this agent and I say, hey, when are you reviewing these offers? I have an appointment scheduled tomorrow and my clients have expressed interest in the home. And her response was 10 p.m., just short 10 p.m. And at this point, it's already 8 o'clock. So like not practical that we're likely to get in, especially with COVID. You can't overlap appointments and stuff like that. I don't know if you're doing that, but generally speaking, people here won't allow appointments to overlap. So you're very limited on when you can go, especially on short notice. Anyways, so I was extremely frustrated because my clients are interested in the home. I received 2 hours notice that they're reviewing offers. I mean, I think it's ridiculous because it would be in the seller's best interest to drag that out a day. I would think. I mean, the house had only been on the market for 1 day, not even. So, why not drag it out a day, let the next dozen appointments go through, and then maybe you have 5 or 7 offers. So, and they were very short and snarky with me. It was very frustrating.
It's happening here too. One recently, I was showing a Toronto family. They drove up, they took the day off work, drove up. It was a water access only property. I put, my husband took his day off work to trailer the boat behind the truck. We take it an hour and 15 drive from where we are, put it in, boat all around. We got lost. We even had a map, found it, walked it, enjoyed it, thought it through, like envision, your family here. What would you change here and everything? The showing was about an hour. I did block an hour, not including boating time. And, they're excited about it. They got a lot of questions. They're not sold on the water access only, but, we're going through the motions. I get in the car. They had some questions. So I get in the car. We're now driving home. This is a total of, at 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And I call the listing agent with all the questions that my buyers had. And he says, oh, we've already accepted an offer on it.
When did they accept it? Before or during or?
During.
Oh my goodness.
During. And it's not, we had cell reception. You could have called me. You could have at least warned us, and I'm like, wait a second, hold on. You've already accepted an offer? Like, while you're conducting showings, I know for a fact there's 2 more showings right after ours. So you're not gonna hold all offers at least like a couple days, just to give everybody.
And you had no idea that there even was an offer.
No,
it's crazy. So I think a lot of the times agents are just looking for the easy route.
Yeah,
and not only knowing when or when not to delay offers, or that's a whole strategy within itself. So I'm not going to comment on that because that could be different for everybody. But at an absolute minimum, we all have these systems that send out automatic emails when offers are registered, if they're registered properly, whether that's through the online system or called into the brokerage and the brokerage does it. Then this automatic email goes out to all the people that have shown the home or have showing scheduled. They get that email. That's typically all that happens. But what I do and what our team is trained to do is not only do you send out those emails automatically, which takes 0 effort, you pick up the phone, you text message, you call, you do whatever you need to do to make sure you've taken the initiative to reach out and speak with these people directly. Because as an example, that night I got an email at 7. Not that it would have made a difference, 1 hour's notice. They should have given me plenty more notice than that. But at least she should have taken the initiative to call me and say, hey, Adrian, I know you've got a showing book tomorrow. We've got an offer. Do you think you might be able to get in earlier? Right? So
I have a question about Irrevocable.
Yes.
I was showing a property and another offer came in 6 hours Irrevocable. Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah. So just to explain, so anybody watching that doesn't know what irrevocable is. So on the offer, there's a section called irrevocability, and you set a day and time. And basically that's you saying your offer is good and valid until that day and time. It's very common that listing agents will request a minimum, like they may say minimum 48 hours or minimum 24 hours. It's usually just a request. Doesn't necessarily mean that they'll enforce it. They may be open to something earlier, especially if they get a really attractive offer. But at the end of the day, you can make it whatever you want. You may run the risk of pissing off the seller if if they feel like you're trying to force their hand in a hot market. I've had people do that and not only send me an offer with a short irrevocable time where they're forcing us to make a decision, but it's a shitty offer.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's like, okay, you want me to get up, change my schedule, go call my client, send them the offer, review this piece of shit offer, and I have 3 hours to do it? I don't think so. The vast majority of agents will respect a reasonable time though. But I can see somebody, if they're sick of losing out on bids, I can see somebody going in with a 6-hour irrevocable, as long as it was a strong offer. Sure.
Well, and we're not allowed to know the contents of that offer either, right? So it's hard to advise my buyer on what to do. Yeah. I don't want them under the gun either. And sure enough, they were like, forget it. Like 6 hours. I'm not coming up with an offer right now for you to drop. No, like they were just, so then they lost that potential buyer. The seller lost that one too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's funny. I mean, even from the seller's perspective, they should want to get, like, I remember we were selling a house not long ago and I had 5 offers already, and I had an email or an agent get back to me after I left him a voicemail, but the offers, and he's like, oh yeah, my clients would be interested, but only for $1.4 million, which was $200,000 under the asking price. So, in that case, I've had a lot of agents would say, oh, don't bother sending an offer. We got some really strong offers here. We're going to work with one of these. But instead I said, well, you never know what may happen, right? Yeah. Because you never know. And the more offers I have in hand, the more pressure that puts on the other offers to improve their offers. So a lot of different strategies we can use to convince buyers to spend more. But at the end of the day, it's worth as much as someone's willing to pay.
Exactly. That's what I tell my buyers. Yeah. Right. They don't want to overpay. They're saying, I don't want to overpay. I don't want to overpay in this market. And it's like, don't worry. Like, it'll sell for what it's worth.
Yeah. Well, to sum it up for buyers, it's a very competitive market. You're going to be competing. It's inevitable. So don't be afraid of it. Just go in educated, rely on your real estate agent for their advice on how to proceed with it. Do your due diligence, get your finances in order. When you're at a house, if you think it's one that's really of interest, spend a little bit more time there, look in the basement, look at the utilities, do your check and make sure that if you have to go in without an inspection, at least you've maybe walked through a little bit more thoroughly with an open eye.
Mm-hmm. Another thing, just quickly, two things that happened up here that was unusual was we had submitted a full asking no conditions, 2 separate buyers on 2 separate properties, thinking it's a shoe, and we're like, oh, we got this, and the seller takes the property off the market.
Both,
and it happened with different properties, agents, different properties, different buyers. We have our heart set on it, and I convince them. I take them all the way to the end, and I say, we've got this. You're going in and asking. You've got no conditions. We've got this." And then they call and say, "Yeah, we've decided to take it off the market. We want to keep our cottage in the family."
I'd call bullshit.
Right. And I'm like, okay, your property has been on the market for 89 days. It's about to expire. You have a full asking offer, and now you're deciding to take it off. Like, what? Yeah. So that was unusual. And that happened twice.
That's very strange. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it's also been a strange year. Maybe they realized, maybe they were getting a lot of use out of it. Maybe the beginning of the summer, they're like, oh, we're going to sell it.
True.
And then with COVID, they're like, let's spend all summer there. And then they decide, you know what, we love it. And the reason they were going to sell it is because the last 5 years, they were there for 2 weeks each year. That's
a good point.
But still, they should have figured that out a little bit earlier. So that's a big letdown for your clients, unfortunately.
This is what I'm telling you. I've learned so much this year, my rookie year of real estate for sure. It's valuable for me to go through these experiences so that I'm knowledgeable going ahead in my career. But definitely I can see why some agents may quit. You get disappointment after disappointment, and because I guess I needed to learn so that I know later how to deal with these situations, I'm better for it. And I'm stoked for my second year. I am. I'm stoked. I think it's going to be amazing. I did sell some places this year,
It's exciting. That's good.
Yeah. And
It takes a while.
I have a beautiful listing up in Powassan right now. It's $1,000,001, and it is a former wellness retreat. Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous property. And I think it is kind of maybe looked over. Perhaps, I'm not sure why. It's private. It has 710 feet of shoreline.
Wow.
Beach. Like, it's just, maybe because it's just that much farther than in Toronto, or from Toronto rather. I feel like maybe that 3-hour mark maybe is too far. I'm not sure. I'm working on that, but yeah. So, things are happening. I've got a listing. I've got buyers. I got like 8 or 10 buyers right now that I'm working with, and it's good. It's been a learning experience.
That's good. Well, if you can make it through year one, then I think you'll do just fine. And from what I see of you, you're very active on social. You're going to do great.
Thanks. I like this whole podcast thing, though, because I don't actually know of any other agents up here doing this. So I've kind of tried to dabble in it a little bit myself. I learned obviously a lot from you. So thank you, and Ariel, for exposing me to podcast life. But sure. Yeah, I definitely think this is such a great way to inform buyers and sellers, like directly, like hearing it right from us,
Yeah.
And it's real, and it's honest, and it's unedited. And that's also cool because.
And dangerous. We've gotten into trouble because of it.
You have.
But yeah. But, and one of the reasons that we got into real estate, speaking for myself, and I imagine Ariel also, is that there was a big void in the quality of service being provided. Mm-hmm. And there's so many, and the longer I'm in it, the more I see it. And, we want to open people's eyes and educate buyers and sellers on that stuff so they actually get proper service, because they're spending a lot of money. It's a big investment of theirs, and they need to be properly represented. So, my end goal is just to educate people on what proper representation looks like. Yep. And where to get it.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I want my clients to not just maybe pass my billboard face and be like, oh, she likes dogs too. Maybe I'll hire her. I want people to know me. I want us to get to know each other. I want to be the best representation for you, because it is the biggest sale or purchase of your entire life. So I get that. And I think it's important to gel with your agent. Like, don't just hire somebody based on an advertisement.
Yeah.
Because cottage owners to live in the city, and if they want to list their cottage, who are they going to go with? They're going to find whoever markets the most, or whoever they see their face over and over again. Oh, that person looks professional. Go with them. No, I'm trying to use social media to show you who I am, and that, what I have to offer as far as knowledge goes living here. I think you should always hire an agent that lives and works in the area that you're looking in. If you're
that's how I hired before we got into real estate, that's how I hired the agent to sell my house. He had the most signs everywhere.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a very good experience. Mm. So you need to do your due diligence and really, interview a number of people.
Yeah, I agree.
But thank you for coming on today. If you've made it this far in the podcast, make sure you subscribe, whether you're on YouTube or listening to the audio on SoundCloud, or the one of many other places that it's streaming. Follow us, subscribe, and give us a comment. Let us know what you think. Or if you have any questions about real estate, we'd be happy to answer them in upcoming episodes. Thanks, Erin.
Adrian.
Have a good day.
Okay, bye.